بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الهزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. I praise Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. I thank Allah. I ask Allah to send countless blessings and salutations on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. And I ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to grant us all the sincere intentions. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us successful in all of our efforts to learn, to teach, and to spread the beneficial knowledge that will make us winners in this world, on the day of judgment, and in the hereafter. Ameen. I wanted to remind you quickly, before I forget, if anyone has ordered books and you don't get your books within 2 weeks in this situation, I would say, unless you ordered by priority, just regular media mail, I mentioned this to you before, is not coming from our side. The post office takes its time. So just inform me, send me a note, send a note to our staff, and inshallah we'll get on it. But what you should know is never, if you order, that you're not going to get the books. We're not doing this as a business. We're doing this so you can learn your religion. So we're not a bookstore, typical bookstore. You know, you sell books and you just try to make money. No, we're using the books, we sell them to give da'wah, to teach and to spread knowledge. That's what that money goes to, right? So just recall that. It's not like a regular bookstore. We're not just selling you a product. We want you to have the books. We want you to learn, right? Every book that is on mmacbooks.com is there with a specific intention. There's nothing there that we don't want you to have. There's nothing there we're just selling you. It's not for that purpose. We want you to learn your religion. So be a little patient, and if ever your order should get lost or something should happen, I will personally make sure you get another book. And if you're that dissatisfied, I'll give you your money back. It ain't that deep, right? It's not that deep. So just brothers and sisters, I hope we get this point. We're a family. I hope we get that, because it will help us in what we're doing, to be like a family, to love each other like a family. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه من الخير في رواية. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, none of you truly believe until you love for your brother or sister in Islam what you love for yourself among the goodness, right? Now, we're going to do that today, Sister Wafiya. Barakallahu fiki. May Allah reward you. So I just wanted to highlight that because I'll forget. So whenever you have book problems, we're going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. It's coming. Just be patient. Tell you. All right, we're going to go on. Yesterday we were supposed to read a biography, but I went off a little bit in a little detail, which was important, but nevertheless, let's get back to our objectives here. So we're going to read two biographies because we're supposed to read a biography of a scholar every day. So we're going to read two today because of yesterday I went too long and we missed the biography of one of the scholars. So inshallah, if you get your book, Reliance of the Traveler, we're going to go to page 1053, biographical note X 156, which is Ibn Ata'illah as-Sakandari radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Naam.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, X155, Ibn Atta. W9.11 is Ahmed ibn Muhammad ibn Sahel ibn Atta, Abu al-Abbas al-Adami of Baghdad, a Sufi ascetic and devotee.
Do me a favor. What did you read? Go back again.
X155?
No, X156. 156.
X156. Ibn Ata'illah. T2.1 is Ahmed ibn Muhammad ibn Abdul Karim Abu al-Fadl Taj al-Din ibn Ata'illah al-Iskandari?
Yes, meaning from Alexandria.
Okay. Sufi Imam and author of al-Hikam, al-Ata'iyah, the Aphorisms of Atta, one of the greatest works of the Shadili Tariqa, in which he was the second successor to Imam Abu Hassan al-Shadili himself.
Yeah, this Ibn Ata'illah, you should get familiar with him in the spiritual science. And remember, we talked about the sciences of Islam are three, the main primary sciences. Al-Iman, Al-Islam, which is related to Ilm al-Fiqh, the science of fiqh. Al-Iman, which is related to the science of Al-Aqidah, tenets of faith. And the science of Al-Ihsan or Al-Ihsan, which is related to the science of At-Tasawwuf. In traditional Sunni Islam, one of the most famous books that is studied in relation to the science of Tasawwuf, Sufism, spirituality, is this book called Al-Hikam Al-Ata'iyya, or the Hikam, which is the aphorisms or the words of wisdom of Ibn Ata'illah. Even though he was a follower of the Shadili Tariqa, its path, and as the author mentioned, he was the second among those leaders after the founder Abu Hassan al-Shadili, rahmatullah alayh. Ibn Ata'illah, his hikam goes across all of At-Turuq. So all of the paths of Tasawwuf, all the different Sufi paths, and the masters of those paths, after the time of Ibn Ata'illah, has used and explained and quoted his hikam, his wisdoms, right? It is one of the most famous books in At-Tasawwuf, and it is just a bunch of small quotes, one paragraph, that's basically it, of different aspects of the spiritual path, right? So it's called Al-Hikam, and it is, mashallah, a beautiful book. When we get finished with all we're doing, inshallah, we will read this book together. It is one of the essential reads in one study of a tasawwuf. So inshallah, we would go to that. But that book, it's very famous. Now,
originally from Alexandria, he moved to Cairo, where he attracted a large following and gave public lectures that were well attended. He was a scholar in Arabic grammar.
So here, he's in Cairo, and you got to remember, Cairo here is the center of Islamic learning in the world, because you have Al-Azhar there, and this is in the 8th century, right? This is in the 8th century. And Ibn Ata'illah was one of the main figures in Cairo in teaching the knowledge. Now,
he was a scholar in Arabic grammar, hadith, Quranic exegesis, Fundamentals of Law and Faith, and Jurisprudence.
And I
And
want you to keep in mind, you notice when we talk about these scholars, when we talk about scholars, we're talking about this level. So if you hear me say, like, we're not scholars, we're talking about the level of real scholarship, right? When you look at their studies, and we're getting ready to talk about some of the Islamic sciences, they were proficient in, as Ibn Ata'illah was, in Arabic grammar, right? In the knowledge of hadith and its sciences, in the knowledge of Quran and its sciences, in usul al-fiqh, in aqidah, right? And in fiqh. They were masters of these things, not just one science. Maybe they were more proficient in one science than others, but they had a mastery of all al-ulum al-shar'iyyah, all of the Islamic sciences. It was the natural thing that a scholar was not half-baked. In other words, in those days, the scholar who was a scholar, that was his field, Islamic studies. And even those who had a craft, that was just their way of earning extra money. But their life was studying the Islamic sciences, right? So when we talk about these scholars, it's very important because we're going to actually, like I said, there's steps to this. There's 3 stages. Let's finish reading and I'll come back. Remind me of the 3 stages of reading. Please, someone reminded me after I finish this biography and the next one. Go ahead.
And Vahabi notes that when he spoke at Al-Azhar Mosque, he would combine the words of the Sufis with hadiths, stories of the early Muslims, and scholarly topics.
Question. For Al-Dhahabi, he writes about Ibn Ata'illah. Now, Al-Dhahabi, we mentioned him before multiple times. Who was Al-Dhahabi? Tell me. Who was Al-Dhahabi? What was he famous for? Let's say that, because you might not remember all about him. We did discuss some about him. But what was he known for and famous for? And why his statements are significant when he's mentioned? And why is he mentioned so much? Okay, right. Islamic historian. What else? That's true. He was an historian. He has a huge multi-volume collection on the history of Islam, written by Al-Dhahabi. So he was a historian. What else was he really famous for, though? That's a statement. Come on, Al-Dhahabi, what was he famous for? Right. So you got Isa, he was known for Jarh wa Ta'dil, weighing and investigating narrators of hadith. That's true. Abu Yahya mentioned he was a Hafid, a famous for the biographies of scholars, right? A biographer, Isa. That's true. Al-Dhahabi, and he was very strict. He was known for his strictness, right? So when Al-Dhahabi mentions about a person, and here's the point, Al-Dhahabi was known because of his influence from being a student of Ibn Taymiyyah. He was known to be very critical of the Ash'aris. So when he speaks about someone who he knows as an Ash'ari, I want you to notice something. Al-Dhahabi is written in the book. If you have the book, Al-Dhahabi. I'll write it here. Al-Dhahabi. We'll read about him later, inshallah. Maybe tomorrow we'll read about him. Al-Dhahabi, he was known to be very strict. And he was known to be extremely critical of Ash'aris. So Ibn Ata'illah was an Ash'ari. He was a Maliki scholar and an Ash'ari in Aqidah and a Sufi. So you expect from Al-Dhahabi to be critical of him. So when Al-Dhahabi praises him, and Al-Dhahabi was a hafid at the high level of hadith and a scholar in the Islamic sciences. So when he praises him, you know his status. You know the level of him, because now not anyone is talking about you. The most critical in that field, who is an expert in that field, is talking about you, despite his bias towards you in issues of the creed, right? Look at this point. Even though he may disagree with some issues, he wasn't at all unfair in mentioning someone's merits, right? So look what Al-Dhahabi said about Ibn Ata'illah. Go ahead.
Among the words he conveyed from
Dhahabi notes.
Dhahabi notes that when he spoke at Al-Azhar Mosque, he would combine.
I want you to understand this. Al-Azhar Mosque, the Mosque of Al-Azhar, in those days was where the learning took place, right? You know, today you have Azhar University and you have the Azhar Mosque, right? And even the scholars now, they say Azhar as an organization and Azhar as a methodology. There's two different things, right? So you have the organization, the university, right? But then you have the methodology of Azhar. So someone may graduate, for instance, from Azhar and not follow the methodology of Azhar. There's a lot of that going on today. Azhari graduate, but they're not Azhari, right? So keep that in your mind. Azhar as an institution and Azhar as a methodology. There's two different things. In those days, Azhar was Azhar, right? Azhar was Azhar. Its methodology, its practice was all the same. Not like today, where Azhar is, you have the methodology, the path of Azhar, and then you have the institution and the politics that relate to that, right? So you can have someone who said, I studied at Azhar, but he's not Azhari. What do I mean he's not Azhari? He may graduate and he may have a cap, but he's not Azhari. What do I mean by that? His methodology is not the methodology of Azhar, even though he graduated and studied, because you have the political side of that. In those days, in the days of Ibn Ata'illah, Azhar was Azhar. And here, to give you an understanding of that, if you study those early scholars in the past, before colonialism set in Egypt, you will notice that the Azharis were Azhari. They were Ash'ari, Sufi, followed one of the madhahib. That was Azhar, right? No changing in that. That was the methodology of Azhar. Ibn Ata'illah, he was teaching in the Azhar Masjid in that time, among the great illustrious scholars in the 8th century. So he was among the masters of the masters, where in those days, a scholar was a scholar, real scholar. Now, go ahead. And he was the scholar of scholars. Go ahead.
Dhahabi notes that when he spoke at Al-Azhar Mosque, he would combine the words of the Sufis with hadiths, stories of the early Muslims, and scholarly topics.
And remember, here's Al-Dhahabi talking about him. So he was Sufi. He combined the statements of Al-Tasawwuf. He would talk about the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would give stories of the Salaf, and he would talk about scholarly topics. So the Sufi wasn't an unlearned person. The Sufi was a scholar of hadith, scholar of fiqh, knew the way of the Salaf, and this was exemplified by Ibn Ata'illah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.
Among the words he conveyed from the founder of his order were, "This path is not monasticism, eating barley and bran, or the garrulousness of affectation, but rather perseverance in the divine commands and certainty in the divine guidance.
And here, what is indicating that uh, he has a book, right, in which he talks about the illumination and leaving off planning, right? The illumination and leaving off. I don't know if it's translated in English. It may be, but I'm not sure. But anyway, but this book, it really tells one how to stick to the sacred law while relying totally on Allah. So it's an inward state and an outward manifestation, right? Subhanallah. Naam. Go ahead.
He was also the sheikh of the Shafi'i Imam Taqiyuddin Subki, whose son Tajuddin feels that Ibn Ata'illah was more probably a Shafi'i than a Maliki, as others have held. But his
Ibn Atta and Tajuddin, he was, for the Shafi'is, one who everyone was Shafi'i for him, mashallah. But his father, Taqiyuddin Subki, do y'all remember Taqiyuddin Subki? We mentioned him, right? When did Taqiyuddin Subki die? So Ibn Ata'illah was the sheikh of Taqiyuddin Subki. And we talked greatly about Taqiyuddin Subki one time and his rank. When did he die? What year? 756. Taqiyuddin Subki, he was the chief judge, Qadi al-Qudat, the head justice over Egypt and Sham, and the areas of Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan. And he went to Dar al-Hadith, where Imam al-Nawawi was, and he put his head on the spot where the mihrab, where Imam al-Nawawi used to stand and pray. And he said, it's an honor just to put my head in the place where Imam al-Nawawi stood. That's Taqiyuddin Subki. And Taqiyuddin Subki was among the major scholars of Ahl Sunnah who wrote and refuted Ibn Taymiyyah, Ahmed Ibn Taymiyyah and his ideas. In that time, Subki, he wrote the most about that issue. And his student Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, Taqiyuddin Subki. Taqiyuddin Subki was the student of Ibn Ata'illah al-Sakandari. Now look at the level. His student, Taqiyuddin Subki, was the chief justice in the Islamic land over Egypt and Sham. And it is mentioned that he was among the first who ever held that position. That it is not really clear that anyone before him held that position at the same time. And so you see these great scholars, what they produced. And they said about Ibn Taqiyuddin Subki that he was a mujtahid himself, but his methodology agreed with the methodology of Imam Shafi'i. But he himself reached the level of absolute mujtahid. Naam, go ahead.
But his true legacy lies in the path he served and the disciples he left to further it, their hearts open to the knowledge of Allah Ta'ala Most High through his instruction in the mystic way, which his Hikam and other works aptly attest to his profound mastery of. He died in Cairo in 709, 1309.
In that, okay, and we're going to go to now page, now I want to show you something about Ibn Ata'illah. It's a story about Ibn Ata'illah. Man, I don't have time. Quick, let me tell you the story quickly. Ibn Ata'illah, what's significant about him? He was a Sufi. He was a spiritual master. He was a faqih. He was in hadith, right? He was a sheikh and Azhar teaching. When Ibn Taymiyyah, Ahmed Ibn Taymiyyah, and Ahmed Ibn Taymiyyah was the one who the ideas of the Wahhabiyah and the so-called Salafiyah, they come from him. Most of their when was he born? I don't know. I'll check for you, inshallah. Ibn Ata'illah. I'll check his birthday for you. I don't know offhand. Ibn Taymiyyah, was put in prison for his bad ideas by the agreement of the 4 chief justices of every school. So of the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, the Shafi'i school, and the Hanbali school. The chief judges of all 4 schools imprisoned Ibn Taymiyyah, and he was in prison in Egypt for his ideas, bad beliefs, and conceptions. Ibn Ata'illah walked with a group of his students to the prison to debate Ibn Taymiyyah. He went to the prison where Ibn Taymiyyah was held to debate his ideas and contradictions in creed and practice. So even though he was Sufi and a pious man, he didn't stand for misguidance. This is known about Ibn Ata'illah, and it's a famous incident during that time, because he was living during the time of Ibn Taymiyyah. And he went with the scholars, and they came to refute Ibn Taymiyyah's ideas of anthropomorphism and other matters. Let us go to page 1023. Biographical note X17, which is Abdul Wahab al-Sha'rani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.
Abdul Wahab Sha'rani, C 6.5.
Sha'rani.
Sha'rani? Sha'rani?
Yes, al-Sha'rani.
Sha'rani. Sorry. Is Abdul Wahab ibn Ahmed ibn Ali al-Hanafi al-Sha'rani, born in 898-1493 in Kanshada, Egypt. A Shafi'i scholar and prolific author of the works in Sufism, sacred law, and tenets of faith. He is probably most famous in the legal sphere of his classic, Al-Mizan al-Kubra, the Supreme Scale, in which he comparatively studies the rulings of all 4 Sunni schools of sacred law as if they were a single school, treating their differences according to their difficulty as either strictness, azima, or dispensation, ruksa.
Well, here, Abdul Wahab al-Sha'rani is one of my favorite authors. He is a 9th, 10th century scholar, 10th century, because when he was older, but he's a master. Subhanallah. Sha'rani is a master of the outward law, a master of the different sciences, and a master of the inward science of spirituality. Abdul Wahab al-Sha'rani, La ilaha illallah. His books, they're not books of teaching. They're books of enjoying. Like you just read and you just like, wow. Like almost unbelievable that people were like this, right? When you read about al-Sha'rani. But Abdul Wahab al-Sha'rani, despite being a spiritual master in the spiritual side, he was a phenomenal faqih, jurist. And one of the examples of that is his book, Al-Mizan al-Kubra, which, the major scales, right? In which he takes all 4 schools and he makes it as if it is one school, and to show you how to navigate and weigh the different opinions in the school, that all of them lead to Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says that all of the rulings of the sacred law are either strictness in some schools or dispensations. And he shows how the scales of the sacred law differ between those schools following the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he mentions, and one day I'm going to share this with you. He mentions all of his studies to show that he's qualified to do what he did. And it goes on, his qualifications, just in books, around 3.5 pages. Amazing. And look what he says at the end of quoting almost 3 pages of books. And he mentions them like this: I studied this book with such and such a sheikh. I read it on my own so many times. I studied this book, and some of those books was 5, 10, 20 volumes. And at the end, he says, and if anyone believes that I didn't do it, bring any of these books and I will recite it from my mind. Allah. He's talking in his time, the 10th century, where there were giants. He said, if anyone doubts that I have mastered all of these things, bring any book I mention and I'll recite it from my mind. Subhanallah. Wow. Like Ash-Sharani was a genius. And that book is so amazing. All of his books are amazing, subhanallah. And he wrote one book, and I used to, in the previous classes before, I would read it and share it with people. And inshallah, we'll do it in the future. He has a book called Al-Minan Al-Kubra, Al-Minan Al-Kubra, which means the great endowments. It's about 600 pages, right? 600 pages. And in the 600 pages, Min al-Kubra, it means the great endowments or favors from Allah, right? And in that book, 600 pages, he speaks about the favors of Allah upon him, right? That's the whole book is about. You know, there is a verse in the Quran, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. As for the favors of your Lord, proclaim it. Right? He basically wrote that book on the scale of that verse. So he recalls all of the endowments on him from Allah. And he thanks Allah and he mentions those endowments. He proclaims them. So like he starts it's only like each thing is like a paragraph. And he'll say, وَمِمَّا أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيَّ such and such. Among the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favored me with is this and this, right? Amazing, the whole book. And it is something that we should do, right? That we should think about all the blessings that Allah gave us and the endowments and the favors and enumerate them. And he wrote a book, each paragraph like that, for 600 pages. Amazing, 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 amazing. We are going to talk about Ash-Sharani. But one of the things that Sharani wrote in his book that relates to us, go ahead, finish, and I'll come back to that.
He was also a sheikh and adept in Sufism, among its outstanding Arab spokesmen, showing the unity between law and way and works that have remained popular to this day. Among them, Lata'if al-Minan wal-Akhlaq, subtleties of gifts and character.
In this book, Lata'if al-Minan wal-Akhlaq, he talks about like covenants, right, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how you fulfill all of those.
Lawaki al-Anwal al-Qudsiyya, the fecundating sacred illuminations, and Kitab al-Yawaqi wal-Jawahir fi Bayan al-Aqaid al-Akabir.
Akabir, yes.
Akabir. The Book of Rubies and Jewels, an explanation of the tenets of faith of mystic luminaries.
And he's talking about the belief of Ahl Sunnah in this book. And Ash-Sharani explicitly mentioned in this book, right? Al-Yawaqit wal-Jawahir fi Bayan Aqaid al-Akabir. He mentioned explicitly. He said, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'a hum al-Asha'ira wal Maturidiyya. He said that. Taj Abdul Wahab al-Sharani. He said, Ahl Sunnah are the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. And I'll show you this in his book, right? He mentioned it explicitly. And he died when?
He died in Cairo in 973,
Right.
1565.
So you're going to have 973, 974, you know, in those dates, they always like have a little discrepancy. But Asharani was very strict in these issues. And he was Ashari. But here, I want you to know, we talked about another great scholar who was known as Sheikh al-Islam, right? And he was the student of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Who's that? That's that scholar. We read about him. We talked about him. His name was Sheikh al-Islam. Right? He was titled with Sheikh al-Islam. He was known as Al-Qadi, Sheikh al-Islam, Al-Qadi, then you got to give me the name. And he was one of the main students of Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. And all of the major asanid of hadith go through him. Who was that scholar? And when did he die? See how fast? No, not Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Sacred law is Ash-Sharia. The sacred law meaning the Sharia. When we say sacred law, that's the English way of saying the Sharia. Nope, come on. Good. Boy, he said you on fire, man. Put him in the game. He's on fire. Zakaria al-Ansari. Sheikh al-Islam, Zakaria al-Ansari. I want to share something with you. Zakaria al-Ansari, when did he die? He said you got bonus points. When did Zakaria al-Ansari die? Man, time flies. Subhanallah. We didn't even get started. La ilaha illallah. Sure, Isa. Alhamdulillah. Don't worry. Keep studying. I told you this is not going to be a microwave thing. It's going to take time. Slow cooking. 9 something. Okay. Anyone knows when Zakaria al-Ansari would die? You got your book. Go read your book. Go to your book. Find Zakaria al-Ansari and find out when he died quickly. You got your book. You got the Reliance of the Traveler. That's what you got it for. Go look up Zakaria al-Ansari and tell me when he died. This is all going to come together. I know it may be like, why is he doing all this? It's going to all come together. You're going to appreciate all this one day. I appreciate our teachers doing it with us. That's how we get such conviction that can sometimes seem like you arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I'm convinced. I'm sure. I have no doubt. I know exactly what I'm talking about. 926, correct. 926 after Hijrah. Right? Now, Abdul Wahhab al-Sha'rani was among the main students of Zakaria al-Ansari, who was known as Sheikh al-Islam. Right? Zakaria al-Ansari was Ash'ari in creed. Right? Was Shafi'i in fiqh. And followed the path of Tasawwuf. Right? He has a commentary on a Risalatul Kushayriyah, which is the Sufi book manual, the treatise of Imam al-Qushayri. His student, Abdul Wahhab al-Sha'rani, was Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Sufi. And I want you to tell you about Zakaria al-Ansari, the Sheikh of Abdul Wahhab al-Sha'rani. Yes, his books are translated, some of them. He has one on manners, is a very good book. I think we have it. I don't know if we got extra copies. I'll find it for you. I'll check. But yes, we're going to read Sha'rani books. When Sayyidi Abdul Aziz comes back, He's a good reader. We're going to go over some Sha'rani books. It's very beneficial, mashallah. I want you to write this down. So I gave you a chain, right? In this rank. You got Abdul Wahhab al-Sha'rani, who was Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Sufi, right? His books are clear of that. Who was his sheikh? Was Sheikh al-Islam, the definitive Zakaria al-Ansari. Zakaria al-Ansari was Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Sufi, who was one of the main students of Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Amirul Mu'mineen fil Hadith, who was Ash'ari, Shafi'i, and Sufi, right? Who was a student of Al-Hafidh al-Iraqi, who was Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Sufi. Every chain, the most authentic chains to al-Bukhari, to the Sahih Bukhari, when you stop skipping stuff, the most authentic chains available on the face of the earth for Sahih al-Bukhari, the most authentic book after the book of Allah, go through Zakaria al-Ansari, Shaykh al-Islam Zakaria al-Ansari, and Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, and Al-Hafidh al-Iraqi. If you study Sahih Bukhari, the most authentic book after the book of Allah, the route to get to that book goes through these great Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Sufis. Right? The most authentic chains. I want you to think about that. Let that resonate in your mind. So today we live in a time where people telling us, don't be the Sufis and following some madhab and Ash'ari. Wait a minute. The most authentic book of Allah, after the book of Allah, the most authentic book by the consensus and agreement of the Muslims is Sahih Bukhari. And you can't get to Sahih Bukhari without going through the most reliable, trusted chain, right? It's through these scholars. Think about that. I just marinate on it. What does that mean by go through, Abdullah? It means our religion is chain of narration, right? It's as-sanad, al-isnad, right? So for every book, we have a chain of narration, right? Though today, people knock that out because those who are pretending to follow the way of Ahl Sunnah, if they go by the chain of narration, it's going to contradict everything they're talking about, right? So the sanad is important, but they don't mention it. Why? Because of what I'm talking about. If you read the asanid and the chains of narration, and you see the men who were in those chains, you will see that they were all Ahl Sunnah. And very few people who contradict the path of Ahl Sunnah, especially the most authentic chains. So you hear this, I follow the authentic way, right? The most authentic narration. We follow the authentic Sunnah. There is no reliable way to the authentic Sunnah except through these people whom you consider deviant. I don't mean you, I mean people. Consider them deviant. You can't reach the Sunnah without them. What are you talking about? So listen to this, if we're saying that this is the most authentic book and it is the authentic way, then therefore you should know from that the way it reached us has to be trustworthy or it's not authentic. So if it reached us through these people, that lets you know the authenticity of their methodology. All right, I'm going to pause there and I'm going to give you 8 sciences, and tomorrow I'll come back and talk about them. I didn't get a chance today. I mean, time, 1 hour is, because I'm trying to give you some things. I know for some of us, listen to me, before, let me do this first. Okay. So I want you to know, when we talk about Islamic sciences, there are 8 basic science I want you to memorize. Just the names, right? For right now. So everyone should memorize this tomorrow. The first science, Al-Quran al-Kareem, right? Al-Quran al-Kareem. Allah, and you can start copying them as I put it up, right? That's the first one. Al-Quran al-Kareem, right? And when I say this first, I'm giving you the sciences, right? Al-Hadith al-Sharif, right? Al-Hadith al-Sharif. At-Tawheed, and you can say Al-Aqidah. That's what's meant here, the same science, right? Al-Fiqh, Al-Fiqh, it should say. I'll put it, right? Usul al-Fiqh. I want everyone to memorize all these names. As-Siratun Nabawiyya, Al-Adab, here what is meant here. What is meant here at Tasawwuf, right? And the last one, An-Nahu, Arabic grammar. And you can put Al-Lugha, Arabic language if you want, and its sciences, right? So these are 8 sciences, right? And there are more, but we just want to build on it. Scholarship and learning the deen properly, you're going to need, for us, a basic understanding of all these sciences. For us to get a proper understanding of the deen, in every one of these sciences, we should all have at least an introductory understanding, a beginner's understanding of all these sciences, right? Great. MashaAllah. Barakallahu feekum, Sufyan. Right? So we should have some knowledge of the Quran al-Kareem, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. Al-Hadith al-Sharif, Al-Tawheed, Al-Aqidah, Al-Fiqh, jurisprudence, Usul al-Fiqh, the fundamentals of jurisprudence, As-Sirat al-Nabawiyya, prophetic biography, Al-Adab, At-Tasawwuf, etiquette, manners, spirituality, Sufism. No, you didn't miss nothing. They're all there. And number 8, An-Nahu, Arabic grammar. Or we could say Ulum al-Lugha, the sciences of Ulum al-Lughat al-Arabiyyah, the sciences of the Arabic language. An-Nahu, al-Sarf, al-Balagha, etc. Right? We'll talk about all that. So for right now, I want everyone in the class, the first thing I'm going to ask you about tomorrow is these 8 sciences. Right? Is that clear? That's the homework for today. Please, everyone memorize just those words. So I'll repeat them quickly. Al-Quran al-Kareem, Al-Quran al-Kareem, that's the Quran. Al-Hadith al-Sharif is the Hadith. And when I say Quran al-Kareem, I'm going to go in more details. Okay, I'll give the 3 reasons, inshallah. At-Tawheed, Aqidah. tenets of faith. Al-fiqh, jurisprudence. Usul al-fiqh, the fundamentals of jurisprudence, right? As-sirat al-nabawiyya, prophetic biography. Al-adab, at-tasawwuf, spirituality, etiquette, manners, Sufism. And nahu, Arabic grammar, or in the language, Arabic language sciences. All that, you need to have a beginning, a beginner's understanding. I want you to have a picture of it, right? There are those who are under the impression that I'm teaching too much advanced stuff. And in a sense, they may be right in that, right? The stuff's too advanced. But you got to understand the condition we're in. We got people that are perverting the religion to these people. And if the people don't understand the Islamic sciences, is going to continue to happen. If they don't have an idea of what really is going on, and they don't understand the Islamic sciences, they're going to fall into misguidance over and over and over and over again. So our job, if we really care, is to raise the level of education among the common people so they can protect their religion. As they say, من لم يعرف الشر يقع فيه. من لا يعرف الشر يقع فيه. The one who didn't or who does not know evil is going to fall into it. Right? The one who doesn't know evil is going to fall into it. So you got to have a basic understanding. And believe me, when you get this basic understanding and you get it well, some things is just not even going to be in the equation, right? But you have to be aware, you have to be instructed. And the reason why it's easy for people to pervert in the knowledge and tell us things that normally won't make sense is that we're not aware. And we're not guilty for that. I mean, we're not aware. That's the job of teachers, to convey, to make us aware, right? So that we can protect our deen, right? I'll give you an example. We have an idea today, and I'll make this quick. People saying that Allah is in heaven, that Allah is above the throne, and they're spreading that belief. We just studied two great scholars, Abdul Wahhab al-Sharani. We talked about their rank, we talked about their status, and Ibn Ata'illah al-Sakandari. We talked about his status. In both of their books, they wrote, Allah exists without a place, without time, without direction, without having a body, without being an attribute of the body. Both of them. Zakaria al-Ansari, we mentioned that. He wrote it in his books, right? He has a hashiyah on Al-Aqidah al-Nasafiyah. And in there, he clears Allah from having a place. So our greatest scholars of Islam, Al-Bayhaqi, we mentioned, right? Al-Ash'ari, Al-Juwayni, Abu Ishaq al-Shirazi, all of these great scholars over all the time, all of them said Allah exists without a place. And today, we got people who think Allah's in heaven. Where's Allah? Allah's up there. Wal-iyadhu billah. This is incorrect. This is a rejected belief that's been rejected historically in Islam. But if we don't know scholarship, we don't know books, we'll never know. Someone can tell us anything in the name of Islam. We have to correct it. The three things I mentioned quickly, and I'll stop here. If you have questions, go ahead. 3 reasons for reading while we're reading, right? So the 3 reasons for reading. Number 1, right, is to become familiar with the scholars of our religion. That's number one. To become familiar with the authoritative scholars of our religion, right? Who are they, right? Because as Imam Muslim mentioned in his Sahih, Inna hadha ilm deen, fanzuru amman ta'khuduna deenakum. Verily, this knowledge you're learning is the religion. So look well from whom you're taking your religion. You got to know who you're taking for your religion from. As he said, al-isnadu min ad-deen, walau la isnada laqala man sha ma sha. The chain of narration is a part of the religion. If it is not for the chain of narration, then anyone can say whatever they want. So we need to know whom we get our religion from. Who you learning from? Who's your teachers? From where did they learn from? From whom did they take from? Right? That's number one. So we should become familiar with the scholars of Islam, past and present, because our religion is not a broken. So don't just tell me about scholars for the last 200 years. There were scholars before that. Islam ain't new. It's not a new religion. It's been going on, and scholars have been writing, and books have been written for 1400 years. So we have an unbroken chain. That's the special merit of Islam, our connected, continuous chain of narration, right? So that's number one. Number two, when we read about those scholars, we become familiar with their writings, their books that they authored. Then we know from where we understand their position and their methodology, right? Because you learn about a person, then when you understand their writings, you understand whom they learned from, who were their students, what books they wrote, what was their methodology in belief, in practice, in spirituality, what was their expertise, who were the scholars around them. So from reading their works, you get an understanding of what they were doing, what they believed, what they practiced, what was their states, what did they teach, what did they learn, from whom did they learn, whom did they teach, when you start learning about their books. So that's the second step, right? The third step is then to understand what they conveyed, right? To understand. And when you understand, this is what the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. Whomever Allah wills the good for them, He'll give them understanding of the religion. And we want good, so we want to understand, right? So we learn about the scholars, we learn about their books, we learn how our religions reached us, and then we begin to understand our religion. That's the three reasons why. And the only way you're going to get that is by extensive reading and company with scholars. Unfortunately, we live in bad times. Seriously, we live in bad times. We shouldn't despair, but we should realize the time we live in, right? We're in a fitna, right? We're in a serious fitna in Islamic learning and Islamic practice and conveying. We're in a fitna. We're facing an enemy, like it or not. That's real. And we got to learn to navigate in our time. How do I navigate this rough terrain, this dangerous path with pitfalls and highway robbers and, wild animals? How do I navigate my way through this without getting slaughtered? Bi-ilm ad-din, by learning the knowledge of the religion, learning our way. And remind me, because I have a tendency to drift, remind me, right, our isnad is really our navigation system. Without it, we in trouble. Without it, we in trouble. It's our navigation system. But remind me, sometimes I can, out of my passion, go a little bit further than necessary in in dealing with the issue. And more important is first to teach you, right? To teach you. To teach you more important than to show. Because once you learn, you'll be able to identify things yourself. You won't need me to be so explicit. You'll understand yourself, right? Tayyip, with that, we'll bring this to a close. If anyone has questions, quickly, let's take a few of the questions. Oh, next week, not this week, next week, we're going to begin in the morning before the Post-Fajr reflections, the reading of the book Minhaj al-Abidin of Imam al-Ghazali. So we finished the book, The Beginning of Guidance. So at 6:30, 6:20, because Fajr is coming in late now. So like say 6:20, 6:30. We're going to say 6:30. We may start at 6:20 in some days, but we're going to say 6:30 to 6:50 for 20 minutes. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're going to start the reading of Minhaj al-Abidin. Like so for 20 to 30 minutes on those days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this book is available at MMA. There you go, right there. Is available at mmacbooks.com. We're going to the Zelly thing. She'll put up the link for Zelly. Whatever is the thing to Zelly, could you put it up? Sister Halima is asking about it. That's that we finally got that up and running. So for those of you who don't have the book, you know, you can get it, inshallah. And we're going to do this slow. I'm going to explain the book. I'm not just going to read. So we're going to be a while in this book. It's going to be, and that's why I took it from Friday. And I said it's better just to do it in the morning. We're up. We're more free. We pray Fajr. We start getting our learning on. We get an hour and a half, 2 hours of learning, and then we go about our day, right? So inshallah, that would help us. This was the last book Imam al-Ghazali wrote. So it is really a summary of everything Imam Ghazali learned on the spiritual path. So Halima, there's the link is up there for anything you want to do through the yeah, we have a new one, but I keep adding, right? We have a new Kimberly, we have a new schedule, but I keep adding things, so she got to keep changing it and fixing it. But I think we're at a full package right now, so I say. So that's going to be added. The schedule is already out, but just these 3 days are going to be added with Minhaj al-Abidin. But trust me, if we ever, as I keep reminding you, please help me. I have teachers. We got another class coming up in Quran in 2 weeks. We're going to have someone, we're going to make another program, which is going to be interviewing and discussing on the Quran, just on the Quran. And that will be with myself and Sheikh Hamza Abdul Malik. You might know Sheikh Hamza Abdul Malik. He's the Imam of Midtown Mosque in Memphis, Tennessee. It's my partner, my brother. May Allah reward him. He was the one who did the prayer and the recitation at the funeral of Muhammad Ali. And he has a book that he completed in summarizing the themes of the Quran. So we're going to be discussing that, and we're going to be discussing different verses of the Quran, sciences of the Quran. This is a new program that we got. And inshallah, please, I ask you for your support. I want to serve you. I want to bring those teachers that's going to help get this work done. I'm doing my part to the best of my ability, but we need more help. We need to free people to teach and not just lecture, really teach the sciences of the religion. So all these sciences that we talked about, I want to have teachers for them. And when you come, There's classes for Quran. There's classes for Hadith. There's classes for Tawheed. There's classes for fiqh between the different madhahib, right? Classes in Usul al-Fiqh, classes in Sirah, classes in Tasawwuf, classes in Arabic grammar. We want to build something for our people, right? Who don't get the opportunity. For those who are not, the knowledge is not coming to you. So we want to bring it. And we are committed, but we need your support. One of the things, I'll tell you about it tomorrow, and I won't tell you the person. One of our brothers, mashallah, Jaza'allahu khairah, may Allah reward him. He gave me an effort to get the money for teachers. He called it the 10-10, I forget the exact word for it, 10-10 method or something like that. It's very nice. But his design was the 10-10 method, right? And the design was to find 10 people. Let me get it real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry for going over the time. Give me 1 second. I want to share because he did a lot, and I should not delay, keep talking about what he gave me. I don't want to make him lose his himmah, his aspiration. So it's called, and I'll read it to you tomorrow. It's called the 10-10 method, right? And this is someone who's serious. And I know this brother, and I'm happy at his efforts, right? He's really working, mashallah. So he called it the 10-10 method. And I should say method, right? So what he did, he said, if everyone, you can get 10 people to donate, is a summary, and I'll go over it in more detail. I'll just summarize what he said. So maybe one of you want to get in already, right? 1,650 a year, right? So he said, if you get 10 people to donate a year, $3,650, right? Which would be $36,500 per year, right? He said with that, I'm looking while he's doing it, right? We could have, for 1 year, we could have the salary for 3 teachers at $1,000 a month to get it started. So if we can get 3 teachers, which is easy for me to do, especially those teachers that are from our students that are overseas already. So they're in there, they're learning, and we could use them. They're still overseas, and we can use some here that need extra help in their Masjid and different. And we gave them $1,000 a month to teach these classes. So we could have 3 teachers we could add, each of them $1,000 a month. And they would start classes, right? That would help them if they're in communities teaching and they're not getting a salary. It will add and help them to make it easy for them. It'll benefit us where we're all learning and we're getting all these sciences, right? And it will alleviate all the extra work on a few people. So that's his mission. So he gave the money already. So he put up the first 3,006. He didn't even wait a year. He put it up. He said, here's the money from my side. I'm going to go try to get 10, and if you get 10. And then the more we get, we'll start building it up to eventually we'll have salaries for teachers to spend their time teaching. and he's working on it. And I know he's a worker. So I'll talk about it later on tomorrow. But no. Oh yeah, roughly from each person. So those who are interested, if you're in the ability, if you have the ability, make a noble intention and do it. We're trying to get the job done, and it takes all of us. So may Allah make it easy. But that 10-10 method, I want to give it a try. So if we can spread it, we can share it, and he would get the reward. The one who indicates good gets the reward of the one who does it. All right, let me take a few questions. I'm over time, but if I didn't see any questions, were there any questions? Just goes so fast. I don't know. It's finished, but I don't remember the title. You know, I don't remember. But he'll be on next week, inshallah. We're starting next week, the 11th. So he'll be on. He'll talk about it. The 11th. Let me make sure. He said the 11th, right? Yeah, the 11th. What is the 11th? What day is that? So it's Monday the 11th. Next Monday we start. So he already signed up. So he's going to be one of those teachers. So the Quran part will be taken care of, inshallah. The 6th is Siratun Nabawiyah, the prophetic biography. And the 8th is Nahu, Arabic grammar, or the Arabic language sciences. Al-Fiqh and Usul al-Fiqh is different. Al-Fiqh is the actual ruling. Usul al-Fiqh is how we get to the rulings. Alhamdulillah, we need specialists. We need all of that. So if one is inclined to a science, then one should be. In our communities, seriously, we get. I can't go into this, so I can't go in detail. It'll take too long. We got to learn for ourselves. Seriously, let's say that. We can't depend on no one else to teach us. We got to learn ourselves, and then we benefit from others, right? It's not wise to build someone else's house while your house is crumbling. No one with intelligence does that. I build your house while my house is falling apart. So that's the point. Let us build our house, and then we can help the others with their house. Their house, they live in a mansion. We got to build our house first, and then we can be neighbors, good neighbors. But if we keep building someone else's house and our house remains a wreck, I don't know how wise that is. Now, ulum. So if you want to say Arabic sciences, you say al-ulum al-islamiyya, right? Let me see if I can write this in Arabic real quick. My computer's not set up for that. Let me switch it. So we say al-ulum. Let's see what I'm doing. Yeah. Al-Islamiyya. That's how you say it. Al-ulum al-Islamiyya. I think, Abdullah, you can read Arabic, right? Or I'll put it in English, just in case you can't. Al-ulum. Now I gotta go back to English. Allah, Ya Rab, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. Al-ulum al-Islamiyya. So that's how you write Arabic sciences. In Arabic, al-ulum al-Islamiyya, and this is the Arabic word version of it. Al-ulum al-Islamiyya. So that's the Arabic science. That's the Islamic sciences. Naam. Okay. Any more questions? Or are we done? That is for the year 3,650. If we get 10 people to do that, right, Abdul Qadir, that's about what? Roughly around $360, $304 a month. So you could do it that way. I mean, you'll see. Let us get it done. I believe in us. Believe me. I didn't expect that brother to come with that idea, but he's been listening to us. He been, how do you make your ginger tea? With water. No, I'm messing with you. Just regular tea bag and water. Alhamdulillah. And my wife sometimes makes natural ginger. Alhamdulillah. Trying to knock out the rest of these traces of this COVID. Inshallah. That's it. We good? We finished with the questions? Black Round Imams Round Table. Could you put that up? Okay, to sponsor the masjid? You can. I mean, it's fine. When we're in the masjid, anyone will tell you in our masjid, right? All the money we get, that stuff go to da'wah and teaching, right? Right? We just teach. Ask anyone who's been to Masjid Muhammad. We bring teachers, we bring scholars, we do all-day events. Corona stopped us because we can't gather, but we used to every week have different teachers in the masjid teaching books. That's Masjid Muhammad. We go, you know what I mean? Like, and we have different teachers from teaching different books, teaching hadith, teaching fiqh, teaching Arabic language, conferences. We go. That's where the money goes. Dawah. To me, for me, I'm just sharing you about me. I don't want no dunya. I want the deen to spread. I want the knowledge of Ahl Sunnah to spread. I want us to be like when I was studying overseas, when I go overseas and see what our teachers have established and how Islam and the correct knowledge is like just drinking the tea in the morning. I want to see that here, especially in the inner cities. I want to see our children memorize the Quran, memorize hadith, know fiqh, and also do business and learn trades and learn worldly sciences. Now we got work to do. And I know I don't got too much time myself. So I got to light the fire to help out. And in every place, I want to see when you go anywhere in the country, Ahl Sunnah is well known. Anywhere you go. New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, Texas, Florida, California, Alabama, Dawah. This don't stop. And we're going to have to do that on the ground. You can't do it all on the internet. You got to go meet people where they at, right? Go visit them in their homes, talk to them, check on them, see their concerns. You got to be brothers and sisters, family, and that's work. And you can't do all that for free. They're not going to let you fly around for free. You got to pay for that. They're not going to, it all costs money. But if we sacrifice, we can do it. I believe in us 100%. I believe that we have the potential to make it happen. I'm not saying it's going to be a struggle. We're going to fight. We're going to argue. We're going to go through that. That's life. But ultimately, if we're sincere and Allah gives us tawfiq, we could do it. I know we could do it. I watched us. I watched us around the country in different places do things. And we got a committed group of brothers who are knowledgeable, who have studied overseas, who learn. And they're like, look, Imam, I want to do it. If we got the funds to do it, and we've did things to do it, we worked together, we've met, we've talked. And they're younger than me. I'm the old head among them, right? So we could do it. We could do it. We can do it. I believe in us 100%. So I'm going to stop here because I could talk all day. Tonight, we're doing the final session of how to approach the Quran and the Sunnah, part 3. So this is our last episode on that subject. Inshallah. Yeah, just send it to the Masjid, 300 North Albany Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey. It'll come directly to me. Abdul Qadir, you're originally from Philadelphia, aren't you? I think that was you in the picture. You used to be in Philadelphia, right? You have a very beautiful film, you and your children. MashaAllah, may Allah reward y'all. Okay, I do remember you. MashaAllah. I remember you from Philadelphia. MashaAllah. Barakallahu feek. All right. Inshallah, we'll see you. We'll see you tonight, inshallah, in the Black Round Table. I want to share something with you. Learn, just quickly, my last line, as I always say, and lastly, right? Learn to disagree, learn to fight, learn to take abuse, and still wish good for each other. That's a Sufi lesson, right? Learn to fight, to disagree, to take abuse, to be, insulted, and still learn to keep moving on and working. That's called hilm. That's called forbearance. We all need it, right? Especially among us. Don't be so sensitive. Don't be so thin-skinned. We got to deal with some harshness sometimes. And it's fine. Alhamdulillah. Just keep a good intention, right? It's okay. We're going to take some lumps in this path. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was insulted, was hit, was slandered, he took a beat down, if you want to use that term. He went through it, That's part of da'wah. So don't get all shook up when you get, it's okay. We can take it. We're big. We're adults. We can take a little abuse, and just make sure you're sincere. It's okay. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, we'll see y'all tonight at 7 o'clock. Or those who are attending the Black Imams Roundtable. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.